Hey there folks, today's video is going to be a short one, lack of time mainly, but yesterday I planted a honeyberry bush which was given to me as a gift, an early Christmas gift of sorts. And as it came from the garden of a friend of mine which has very different growing conditions, I wanted to quickly show you a comparison between the soil which came from the root ball of the honeyberry plant and the soil which we have here in the garden. So this is where I planted the honeyberry. I know that this will be very hard to show on video, but this soil here, this little mound, and this is very different. It has very different structure and composition. When you take some of the original soil, which came from my friend's garden, you can, first of all, you can see how light it is, because it doesn't hold as much water. Secondly, by rubbing it between your fingers, you can immediately feel the grit of the sand. It's like rolling your fingers over 320 sandpaper, very fine, but still very sandy in feel. And you can see, probably you won't be seeing, but there's this fine particles like a glitter which comes from the sand deposited now on my fingers. Also, even if you get a little piece of it, a little bit, and try to compress it like that by pressing it as hard as you can into a ball. First, it's very hard to do so because every squeeze makes it fall apart, and then even when it's in a ball like that, it just falls back to the little pieces of sand and silt, which is the main composition of that soil. In real life, it's visibly more brownish compared to our more gray and even black vertisol. This is our soil here. This is a soil which hasn't been tilled or dug over. It's a propagation bed for the fruit bushes which we have. So occasionally I dig out a bush and plant another one in its location, but generally it's kept mulched in summer when and also it has a ground cover of clover and wild strawberries. When the soil is wet, it crumbles and it has a very nice micro porosity thing. It doesn't fall apart to very small and fine pieces such as the sand does, but it stays in those little crumbs here. I know that the camera is having a hard time focusing, but this is the best that I can do. But the problem is that it's not really a problem, but it's a characteristic of the clay soil, is that when you get some piece of it and you walk on it or emulate walking by start pressing it down, you can see that it quickly turns into a clay ball, and it acts just like a plasticine. It's very plastic, very wet and oily to the touch, and the more I press it, I can almost make a clay vessel out of it. I'm sure I can actually. And if you try to break that apart, it's impossible. It's like a dough now. And you can see that when you squeeze it between your fingers, it sticks to your fingers. And this is a major difference in structure and composition, which dictates how you manage soil. In soil like that, you can drive a tractor over it weakly and it won't compress as much. You can decompress it very easily using a very small hand tool. You can rototill it without destroying much of the structure because it doesn't have too much of a structure to begin with. And it basically requires constant watering because this dries out very fast. It can rain. You can have a massive rain event in the morning, and by the evening time, the soil will be dry, while our soil sometimes holds water for a week, 10 days, even 2 weeks if it was more rainy and the soil was previously saturated and doesn't dry out. So generally our soil holds water better, but it's very easy to compact. It's very easy to turn into a clay pot or clay lump. So it's really not a good idea to walk on the beds or near the plants which you have. And the other problem is that you can't really be digging it with a shovel, because the shovel leaves smooth sides of the hole which you are making. So planting in a hole dug with a shovel basically means that you're planting a pot in the soil. So the digging fork is the tool which we're using the most for making holes and harvesting potatoes and so on in our garden. One other thing which is very important for the clay soil which we have is that it has to be kept mulched or with a ground cover, because the rain uh, makes the clay particles, which are the smallest and the lightest pieces of the soil composition, float to the top. And what you get if you have unmulched soil is like a thick clay crust on top. And if you want to get rid of that, you have to either dig it in and then mulch it, or rototill it, or keep it mulched for a few years so the soil life can turn the clay back into the soil. But that's the reason we try to keep our beds mulched, especially in winter when there is no plant action, there is no root growth. So that's very important for the health of our soil. And I can quickly show you here. You can see that this bed was mulched, and now the whole of it is in those mounds. Those mounds are usually made by moles. They really love to come into our beds because the beds are very rich in soil life. You have lots of worms here, and this is the favorite food of the mouse. She tried to come in here and didn't succeed, so made a pile, and you can see that on top is the soil is lighter. This is the soil which is deeper in the garden, and the darker is the top part which is closer to the surface. But I'll be moving the soil in the bed now. You can see here we have some volunteer parsley growing, and the mulch is now almost gone on this bed. It's been only 2 months or something, but I'll have to come and reapply most of the straw mulch here, because it's a new bed, and every time we create a new bed we actually digging plant matter in. I have dug several, maybe 10 or 15 loads of the lawnmower clippings here, so the soil life has been colonizing and proliferating underground, and this is what makes it so attractive for the mouse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this one here, 10 molecules in a single bed. So that was all for today. The sun came out and also it started raining in the same time. Weird late autumn weather. But the point of this video is to just show you the distinction between two types of soils, and I don't think that there is a gradient of better or worse soil. It's just that different soils require different strategies for working with them and managing them. And I'll be talking about that more next year when the growing season starts. That was all for today, and I'll see you tomorrow, folks.